Hi, everybody. Welcome to 5 Minute Ministries. Our next little sin is called self righteousness. Now, many of you will be thinking, well, that's a big sin. Well, it is a big sin. It causes big problems. The problem is, as I already discussed, I'm talking about the sins we don't see in ourselves. We can easily spot this in other people, but we need to examine ourselves, and I'll get into that at the end of this. But anyway, Google describes self-righteousness as having or characterized by a certainty, especially an unfounded one, that one is totally correct or morally superior. Now, that is a pretty good definition, and that's how self-righteousness works. We think we are better. We think we are above reproach. We are above people telling us we're wrong because, frankly, we're just not wrong. We are right in our own eyes. It is a result of not examining ourselves. We think about the Pharisees immediately. If you read Luke 18 and John chapter 9, you will see great examples of the hypocrisy and the self-righteousness of the Pharisees. They too thought they were blameless, but they were far from it, and Jesus pointed that out every step of the way. Now, self-righteous people refuse to see or even acknowledge their own sins and flaws. And that's the root of it all. We see it in everybody else, but we're so busy looking at everybody else, we don't see ourselves. So what is the cause of self-righteousness? There's a few here. One is a misunderstanding of grace. We don't understand what it means to give people grace because everybody is flawed. Everybody is wrong. And when we see the wrong and flaws in everybody else, we think about, well, I'm not like that. I would never do that. I would never think that way. I would never act that way. And we don't give the grace to people that they need to understand that, hey, they are sinful people just as much as we are. It doesn't excuse either of us. But when we have the attitude that they are sinful and we are not, and we are not giving them grace, then we are self-righteous. Position or status can make us self-righteous, especially in the church. Well, we get to certain levels, maybe we're on the elder board or deacon board, or we're given certain responsibilities or whatnot, and it's easy to look down on people and not look at ourselves. Another cause of self-righteousness is knowledge. The more we know, the more superior we think we are. We think we have all the answers, and it makes us feel better. Another problem is ignorance. It's not knowing certain things that make us feel superior. Of course, our own standards. A lot of us will have standards that these are the things I need to do and say and think in order to be a good follower of Christ. And if I don't follow these things, then I'm in the wrong. But I can follow my own list because I made the list up. Well, here's the effects of self-righteousness, and ultimately it's an attitude of I am superior to you. But the effects of it, we lose compassion for others. And it goes back to a misunderstanding of grace. We refuse to see our own sin, and anyone who breaks our rules is beneath us. Anyone who breaks our rules is unrighteous. Then, of course, we're quick to point out everybody else's sin, and again, we refuse to acknowledge our own. And, of course, the effects is we set our own standards, and when we set our own, like I already said, we can easily follow our own standards, and we expect everyone to follow our standards. So what do we do about it? First of all, as I said already, we examine ourselves. Is there any of this in us? Where are we wrong? As Jesus said, and I said in my last message, take out the log from your own eye before you try to remove the speck from someone else's. You need to examine yourself. That doesn't mean we can't point out wrong, but don't do it without finding out what's wrong with you. Because you too are a sinner and you too will do wrong things. We need to humble ourselves. We need to go, okay, I'm also a sinner, and I'm not perfect either. I need to give people grace, and Lord, help me to do so. We need to understand what is called Christian liberties. There's what we know as gray areas, and if you read 1 Corinthians 8, it gives an example of that. The common things: stay away from the internet. It's full of sinful things. Don't use the internet at all. Don't have a TV in your house. Women should only wear certain types of clothing. Men have to wear ties to church. Things like that. And those are, there's a whole bunch of other stuff that goes along with it. But when we do not check ourselves, we do not examine ourselves, we lose a lot of things about ourselves, and we don't even think about ourselves other than how good we are, because we're too busy looking at how bad other people are. So take some time and ask God, is there any self-righteousness in me? And if there is, Lord, help me to overcome it. This has been 5 Minute Ministries, and I'll see you next time.